I'm telling, like, you watch all the movies, okay? Anybody with even mildly divergent thought or revolutionary thought or thoughts against the current status quo are the villains, always.
Yeah.
Right? The villains are always the ones who want to change the world.
Yeah.
That's so fucked up to me.
And they always added कि हाँ लोग मर जाएंगे. But like there's not always going to be dead people, right? It's
Yeah. Like,
And plus
if you look at
sacrifice is
like
okay.
the amount, like Thanos went to such great extents, right? Because he thought that it would be a better world, it would be a different better world. But
Yeah.
Captain America का POV इसकी like नहीं, यही डेमोक्रेट और रिपब्लिकन वाला ही चलते रहना चाहिए.
Yeah.
इसकी रक्षा कर रहा है मैं, तो थानोस गांड में रहेगा.
मेरे को ना इसके लिए बीच के स्पेक्ट्रम के लोग बहुत अच्छे लगते हैं जो बहुत बड़ा स्कैम भी नहीं करते हैं, बहुत छोटा भी नहीं करते हैं. इट्स लाइक मिडिल वाला. And it has that underdog quality to it. So I
Yeah.
really don't feel bad when they
Scam you?
when they scam other people.
Yeah.
Like recently,
Why are you wearing glares?
because I was Thai.
You have a style?
I was super scammed. If we have time for a story, I can
Go-
tell you
yeah,
about the
all
time
the
I
time
got.
stories
That's
only.
the whole point. By the way,
Yeah.
it's Preeti Vangani,
It's
poet.
Preeti Vangani, poet, author, performer,
Yeah.
and awesome performer who's also come back to India after 4 years.
After 4 years.
Ghar
Yeah.
Wapsi has happened.
Yeah. So, oh gosh. But when I was in the US in my second year as a student, I'd gone to a writing conference to sell copies of my book that came out with a very, very small publisher. And as the stereotype goes, poets are very terrible with money, which is absolutely true for me, but very sad for my family because, I come from a Sindhi background and it's a family of small businessmen. And my father always takes a lot of pride in how prudent he is with money,
Yeah.
if not frugal. But when I was in the US, I full on picked up a phone call from an unidentified number. I'm like 18 months living in this country and I got scammed. I became the victim of an identity theft because, get this, a person with an Indian accent, not even an Indian American accent, told me that he was from the FBI and all of my assets needed to be seized because my account was linked to some drug trafficking account in Texas.
Oh, wow.
And as a person on a student visa, my exaggerated sort of anxiety at the moment was that somebody will come to my door and deport me to my country. And I was just saying, मेरे को तो course खत्म करने का. I fought with my family and I really want to get this degree. I gave him everything that he needed. My bank account number, I went to an ATM and withdrew money and I followed all of their instructions to the T, which, long story short, involved me depositing money into a crypto account which I would never have access, and I actually lost that money.
Nice.
The bank was nice enough to return some of it to me, but not all of it. But I'll tell you what, the emotional wound is never going to go away. I may have made up that money, but that emotional wound is not going to leave me. But yeah, identity. And I read online that 80% of the people who get scammed in that particular type of phone call are actually people who are 60 plus and
Nice.
so I'm like
you're
mentally
top-
in that age bracket.
Yeah, you're top 20% if you ask me. I think that's pretty great.
I feel very, very
No,
privileged.
They do it with like a lot of immigrants also for that very
Yeah.
reason, right? Because and there was an entire thesis on this saying ki telling old people like if you're going to get a call like this, then identify how they talk to you.
Yes.
Because when they came to you as well, they were like ki the first level is never threat. Ki you will be deported right now, or you will be there's a threat in the first. That's always to scare you.
Yeah.
Yes.
The first tactic is always that. Otherwise, if you're like any governing body will first ask you like blah blah blah, and then come to the brass tacks
Yeah.
of it. It never goes like fuck you from the first beginning.
The other day I got a message from the income tax department. Okay, like that message, ITR, that thing comes, and it said that there's a large transaction. This thing, please go to this link and do it. And the link was also ITR. They've
got to be
Looked official.
sophisticated,
Yeah.
And I sent it to my accountant, and then my accountant sent it back saying, yeah, you have to pay some 50,000 rupees tax right now. I'm like, right now? Like, how? That's not how. And he's the accountant. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, तू कैसे scam हो रहा है गांडू? तू नहीं होना चाहिए ऐसे scam, dude.
And this is in on it. Like,
इतना मतलब silly level का scam चलता है ना. The other scam that I did not fall prey to is the USPS, the postal service, and the US still relies a lot on postal service. मतलब आपको बैंक का phone call आएगा, that will be a scam, but you cannot unbelieve something that comes in the mail. They rely very, very heavily on postal mail still.
yeah.
Fastest country in the world. But and the postal services, to their credit, actually fully efficient. And it really is really important for people who bank that way or whatever. But when you do a change of address and you go to a new house, they are supposed to charge you only $1 to execute your change of address, and new mail will come for 365 days to new address. There are scams where they create pages that look exactly like the USPS page that will charge you $101,
Wow.
$201. So now I've seen a
But
campaign.
they do the thing, right? The $1 does go to USPS.
No, it's completely fraud.
Oh,
And then you
yeah.
realize 3 days later that you didn't get the receipt, and you go to the physical location of USPS, very conveniently located, and they are like, हाँ आप मैडम आपका fraud हो गया है.
पर scam बहुत level पे होते हैं. अभी मेरे अपना एक common person that we know, the producer for one of our shows, she asked me for some cash saying बहन का fees है. And now she's dodging. तो मतलब scam हर level पे हो रहा है.
हर लेवल पे, you know, there is a procession जो हमारे घर से चलता है, and they say कि माता की पूजा के लिए पैसा लेके जा रहे हैं, and my dad is very very clear for like many years. He's like, I will give grains, I will not give money,
Yeah.
because he has proof to believe that the two people who come to take the money are like rampant alcoholics, and they're only going to buy alcohol with it.
That's a lot of
I'm like, I don't
places,
think
yeah.
your grains are going to the right stomachs either, but
Yeah, chalo, at least it's
Yeah.
grains, you know what I mean?
As long as you know the biggest
There's
scam is
this-
religion.
Dude, I'll tell you this one scam. So they set up this whole thing, okay? And they call it like a governing body or whatever. And then they charge you on every penny you earn, dude. And they say इससे हम रोड वोड बनाएंगे. पर actually वो लोग बस भर के लोग को रैली में लेके जाते हैं.
Nice.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah, it happens. Yeah.
It's like this is the biggest scam. That's what I was saying that day, and in the last Justice episode also, I was just thinking like the whole pyramid scheme thing is very applicable, dude.
Yeah.
Like all of us give money, you know, in good faith to this one entity, and it's supposed to take care of the money. Like, are you kidding me, dude? मेरे को मेरी माँ 500 रुपया देती थी बचपन में, मैं उसका मेरे में इतना नियत नहीं था, dude, कि 500 रुपये का अकाउंट करके अच्छे से वापस दूं. तो ये लोग 100 करोड़ रुपया तो लौड़ा नहीं आ रहा है किसी को टाइम पे.
मेरा स्कैम ऐसा चलता था, you know, even up until the point that I started वर्किंग एज अ सैलरीड प्रोफेशनल वगैरह, कि जो भी खरीदा है ना सामान, ड्रेस शूज जो भी है, मैं घर पे आके ना उसका 50% या 60% दाम बताती थी, एंड आई यूज्ड टू कट ऑफ द MRPs ओनली बिकॉज मेरे को डर लगता था कि ये लोग मेरे को वापस बोल देंगे तुम तो ज्यादा प्राइस दे के आए, ये वो. और मैंने सीखा किससे? अपने पापा से और मम्मी से. बिकॉज इफ माई ग्रैंड मदर आस्क्स आलू कितने का मिला, दे आर ऑल्सो डिस्काउंटिंग एंड टेलिंग हर, दे आर नॉट टेलिंग हर द रियल रेट, बिकॉज एवरीबडी इज वेरी स्कैर्ड ऑफ बीइंग टोल्ड दैट यू डिड नॉट नो हाउ टू हैगल.
Yeah, that's a big thing, right? Like, how did you spend this much on this? You should have just gone and done that. And this happens in weird ways. Like, abhi it's like Sam, our common, like my friend's friend, okay, Sam. Sam का कैसा है ना, मैं जिधर भी वेकेशन पे जाता है, मैं पैसा वैसा देके बुक करता है, फिर सम रीजन में Sam को बोलता है, हे Sam, मैं इधर जा रहा हूँ. Sam like, oh, मेरा तो इधर घर है. And I'm like, अबे Sam यार, तू कहाँ घर लेके बैठा है तू यार, कि मैं क्यों दे रहा है बार-बार पैसे चीजों का.
Make my Sam.
Twice this happened, dude. Twice in a
Make
row.
Sam great again.
Yeah. Sam is already great.
My favorite thing nowadays is to watch all these scam busting videos.
Oh,
like,
yeah. Where he hacks their camera and all.
Yeah, so basically there's like a white guy who sits in America and he's like very proficient with like hacking into these systems. So like he gets these scammer calls and then he entertains them. Like some of them go on for 3-4 hours, okay?
Yeah.
And he has a voice modulator where he's like, oh, I'm just a poor lady in Texas. And he's doing all of this, okay? So his voice only comes out as a old lady voice, and this Indian guy is like, yes madam, yes, Thelma ma'am. He's doing all of this, and after the third hour, he has scammed them and he's taken money from their account, okay?
That's great.
And then he hacks their fucking phones and their cameras. So there's one visual of them losing it, and they're in the screen, okay? And they're like, "Arey yaar, maki chodhari maga pakad liya," and they're doing gaali and all. And it's like, "Yaar, tu bencho," and he knows the bad words also in America. It's my favorite thing to watch. The karma comes fully circle.
It has the makings of a proper Abbas Bastan movie.
Yeah, Jamtara was that. No, the series was about those the scammers only.
Yeah.
And how innovative they get.
But that's the thing, like we always take inspiration. It's never like a story of like, oh, this is wrong. You know what I mean? It's always like, oh, I should be this guy.
Yeah.
You know? It's the same thing with the whole Scam 92 wala show.
Yeah,
right?
everybody got inspired by it. Huh?
Yeah,
Calm down.
But like even like the show was great, right? Like as a cinematic thing to watch. But like as a historical, you can't treat it like a historical document. It's not a historical document.
Yeah.
It's accurate in a lot of ways historically. Like even the sofa ka pattern in the house, like growing up in a share market.
खर्चा किया है.
Dude, एकदम accurate. And research किया basically, खर्चे से ज़्यादा. But the truth of it is very different. Like it's always more grey and more nuanced than you think it is. What he was doing was in a legal grey area. There was lack of this, there was that. There's 500 things that were going on in that conversation which you don't get touched, and then that becomes history. Like that Robert Mugabe movie, Idris. Idi
Amin.
Amin
Yeah,
movie.
the one with Forrest Whitaker.
Yeah, sorry. Idi Amin wala movie and Forrest Whitaker is the actor. I was thinking it's the Mugabe movie with Idi Amin as
I
the
can
actor.
do a good Forrest Whitaker voice.
Yeah?
But only in the Star Wars universe.
Oh.
Pugalib is good.
Yeah, like that Texas grandmother. It's a very niche skill.
Yeah, Forrest Whitaker does that voice. Yeah.
But in that movie, there's a scene where the guy goes into the fridge of Idi Amin and there's a head in the fridge of Idi Amin.
Yeah.
It's the enemy's head.
Yeah.
That's just a story. That's not actually the thing that happened. But now, if you go to even that country and you talk to people there, they're like, oh, Idi Amin to fridge mein public ko rakh diya tha. And they're like, bhai, jo tera hi itihas hai yaar. Tu hi
Fridge
picture
mein
ka.
but the basements of his house and all torture chambers were like full of like just dead bodies. Like the
Yeah,
actual
yeah.
documentary, if you see,
Yeah.
it was just like mutilated
Yeah.
bodies over bodies. And like that's why everybody was like, why would a black man do so much bad things to their own people, right? Who have
Yeah.
fought for like rights
Before
for-
that, there was also like the expulsion of all the Indians and all. In fact, if you
Yeah.
look at, it was the largest mass migration of non-resident Indians to another country. They all ended up going to England.
almost like a culling of sorts.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and many of them never came back. And those people obviously went on and became really prominent citizens in the UK in terms of business and whatever, because Indian log jaake kar lete.
Yeah.
But like then the core country lost that manpower, right? Like they lost that. It's like a brain drain only or something.
Yeah.
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 How do you feel as an immigrant right now? It's been 4 years you moved.
It's been 7 years
7
since I
years,
moved.
dude. I remember
Oh, yeah.
way back when she moved.
It's a 7-year anniversary.
Yeah. Oregon, where are you?
San Fran.
San Francisco.
Arre wow.
Yeah,
Oh wow.
I studied
How are
there
you?
and then continued
What is
to
this
live
rent
there.
in San Francisco?
Terrible,
Like,
terrible,
yeah.
terrible.
But to give you all context, Preeti does poetry, and in back in the day, in the proto stages of these scenes,
Yeah.
all the scenes sort of intermingled because there was lack of venues and a lot of mixed bag open mics, and so poets and comics and rappers and musicians all used to actually interact with one another, share ideas.
There was a
with one
culture
another.
of sorts, yeah.
There was a culture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is not new. Like after studying there, I realized like across the world,
Yeah.
these art strains have mingled a lot.
Yeah.
Poets and photographers talk to each other all the time. Comics are continuously talking to filmmakers,
Yeah.
and it's like this is how it moves.
Actually, comedy really owes a lot to the beat poetry scene, right?
Yes.
Like, I mean, all
Yeah.
of those tiny Prohibition era back rooms became venues for beat poets and then eventually became venues for comics all over the north of America.
Yeah, because there was a time when
Sorry.
Lenny Bruce and Allen Ginsberg were like crossing over almost
Yes.
in terms
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
like cultural. A lot of these names you can Google, please. I can't.
यार सारे
give
मस्त
context.
लोग हैं. हाउल
हाँ.
करके एक पिक्चर है जेम्स फ्रैंको ने किया है.
हाँ.
वो हिस्टोरिकल डॉक्यूमेंट नहीं है पर वो पढ़ लेना है.
Also, Kill Your Darlings.
Kill Your Darlings,
Starring,
yeah.
starring Michael C. Hall and Daniel Radcliffe.
वो नहीं पता.
Dane DeHaan. Yeah, it's like
Yes.
young Allen Ginsberg life, like how they became beat poets and how they
Huh.
were all having gay sex.
Or I moved in 2016, 4.5 months before Trump got elected, and 30 days before I want to say 15 days before the election, हमारा जो class था, I was taking a class in a seminar and it was called Outrage in Poetry, and our teacher actually made us memorize and take copies of Howl, Allen
Yeah.
Ginsberg's Howl, and we went below the Transamerica building, which is a really large financial capital building with a heinous evil history in San Francisco. And it's like this, imagine a really long triangular shaped buildings. I'm sure folks can Google it. And we all dressed up in whichever animal or radical we wanted to be, but a lot of people chose to wear animal costumes and read out with bullhorns in our hands passages of Howl.
Nice.
So, and then, we were also sort of understanding the history of what a poetry action is, which was very new to me because I wasn't trained in literature or anything before I went there. And you just go out and occupy street spaces. So we did this at the Transamerica building, for example. A week before the election, we went to one of the railway stations, which is the biggest hub in a very small city. And we asked everybody who was coming out of the train station to read passages from a poet called Claudia Rankine, who is a black poet and writes very deeply into social justice movements, to just come and outrage. And there was a Trump pinata hanging on the station, which we had hung from a wire, and everybody who read a poem could take a whack at the pinata and hit it.
Nice.
Unfortunately, he still won, but I'm telling you, outraging for those 2 days, even as a very, very new person in that country, it felt like art can be so much more than being in one venue at one time. And
Yeah.
it can be free and it can be accessible. And it was just like, I think one of the first seeds to be like, हाँ यार ये सबके लिए है.
Yeah, but I think in India, to a great extent, like the barriers we put to an audience are as much for our safety as it is for anything else. You
Yes,
know what I mean?
100%.
Like,
yeah.
like वो standards phrase of free show में कैसा लोग आता है, dude? You know what I mean? You
Huh.
don't want those people at the show. So
Yeah.
for safety of
Absolutely.
audience and of this thing, you end up fucking taking care and making it less. I mean, that way though, I think comedy and to an extent poetry are like the most accessible art forms in India.
Yeah.
Because
for
you can
sure.
just sign up to an open mic and show up and do the thing.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
obviously there's a class barrier there. But
Huh.
but
you
compared
can,
to
you can circumvent it. Like right now,
Yeah.
it's like the best time. Also, like when I first entered the scene, also was like the narrative was changing. I always say that like the whole comedy scene was like Sobo and Bandra and all these boys were just like a little more privileged than most of us. Like then you see Dhaval Dattar coming from Dombivli.
Yeah.
See,
Yes.
I came from Bhayandar. You know, other
Yeah.
people who are like from Vasai, Naga. We're all like doing a little thing where like we have to get involved in this culture
Yeah.
and we have to talk about a culture also. Like I would talk about how I wouldn't even mention Bhayandar in my sets earlier because I was so embarrassed about where I come from, right? And so like a small town or like whoever you are, you don't belong here type situation. It was only after I started owning up, I'm like the fucking potential, the humor in this.
Yeah.
Like all these notions that I already broke with the gay thing, I can just do it furthermore with the like and growing up gay in a fucking North Bombay small town,
Yeah.
the layers just unfolded, okay?
Right.
So I was just like, you know, you were asking earlier, like how do I phrase? Is this a matter of like how do I like live that life and then how do I present it authentically on stage?
Yes.
Is this a matter of that?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what Aakash is saying is so relevant because I have lived for the last 7 years in a liberal bubble which is not free of problems at all, right? It is
Yeah.
the home of Elon Musk and the home of Twitter and all of that absolute garbage, millionaire money. But had we done the two things that I spoke about pre-election, those kind of things, just, a few miles south in Southern California or in any other state, we would have definitely been behind bars.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
that, San Francisco still surprisingly has the ecosystem and the wonderful people who make you feel safe and you can do stuff like that. But, also thinking about class, I think this is a problem. I think about it a lot in both prose and poetry, but it's something that even I have not gotten over with. I think like 10 saal, 15 saal pehle, when I had just, finished, I was still working in the corporate world. ये बहुत ही मतलब inherent था मेरे अंदर because I grew up in the suburb of Vadala. My mother has a really big family and every single one of my cousins or every single one of her siblings was married into Bandra. My mother grew up in Ghar and all of my maternal aunts and uncles lived in Bandra, and since primary school, I did not have the literacy or the articulation to understand what class disparity is, but I always felt so small by the fact that we lived furthest from where all the fun was happening.
Yeah.
When I was in 6th standard, McDonald's was opening on Linking Road and I was still stuck with Five Garden is the thought that used to spiral inside my head all the time. And I'm like, मैं क्या करूँ ये horse ride का, मेरे को नहीं करने का नहीं. और ये मतलब, it goes hand in hand with
You're like,
English.
I'm not loving it.
Exactly. I am so not loving it. Although my not loving it language was just a lot of tears and giving my mother hell for where life had, made us land up versus the others. And I still struggle with this. अभी हम लोग बोलते हैं FOMO, WOMO. I'm like, मेरे को language नहीं था तभी, but ये कितना hit होता है मेरे को. And like मेरे को बहुत embarrassment होता था even when I went to Podar to say कि मैं वडाला से हूँ or whatever. And ये तो मेरे को मतलब इतनी छोटी बात है, but when we were in 11th standard, a person who went to Bombay Scottish School, who landed up in the same class as me, I was saying something and I used the word elite and I said elite and we were standing in a circle eating sandwich and I remember he laughed aloud and he said, it's not elite, Dumbo, it's elite. And I was
same
like,
चीज हुआ मेरे साथ.
It's same.
Man,
One fucking this guy called
Elite.
one guy
elite
called
school.
Neil from fucking Andheri was like, I didn't know like what money was like. So he would say, hey, you have $10 or what? You have $20. So I thought it was bugs. Okay, I didn't know it was bucks. So I'm like,
Bugs Bunny bugs.
yeah, I'm like for the cab from the station to here, it's $20. It's all bugs, chomu, and everybody started laughing at me. I'm like, okay, cool.
Arey, in junior college, I was, and it's weird to me because we were so rich also. But like, I just grew up speaking Gujarati and Hindi and Marathi as opposed to speaking in English only. Like
Yeah.
this. So like when I went to junior college, they used to call me Ramu Kaka. Dude. For 2 years, they used to call me Ramu Kaka. It came from school. Like the other kids in school will call me Ramu Kaka because I used to hang out in the library too much. And
What's Ramu Kaka about that?
कि you're the library peon. That was the, yeah.
Books साफ करते हैं.
Yeah, और
जो
प्यून
करता भी था उसमें क्या है अगर किताब पसंद है तो किताब साफ नहीं करेगा आदमी.
Exactly.
Like, it's such a
और
fucking-
प्यून तो पर्सन है ही नहीं ना.
हाँ, इंसान
And
थोड़ी
this is what I find so infuriating and I think rage is a very valid emotion is that मैं क्लास प्रिविलेज और कास्ट प्रिविलेज पर्सन हूँ और मेरी इंग्लिश इतनी अच्छी नहीं होगी और मेरे घर वाले कोई अलग काम करते हैं कंपेयर टू योर पापा एंड मम्मी एंड मेरे को इतना चुभ रहा है तो तुम नीचे सोचो लाइक I mean, I can't even imagine, like, every time you enter a room, one of my teachers says is, think about the people who grew up least like you, and then all of the intersectionality of the margins that we come from start opening up, yaar. Caste, race, gender, and sexuality, all of those things. And I'm like, अगर मुझे इतना चुभ रहा है तो मैंने तो देखा ही नहीं है कि नीचे क्या हो रहा है.
Yeah. It's always, I think so, like, whenever we talk about like making friends with people from different strata, it's a very eye-opening thing. Like once you realize that, like I always talk about how Shravan and I, like we are best friends almost in many ways, right? Like Shravan is the audio engineer who's not here, right? We have Rishi.
Don't say it angrily. Like Jinx is a nice guy.
I'm making fun of him, dude. He's in on the joke.
Sweetest guy.
Yeah. No. But so like. So I grew up in the Chawls in Golibar in Santa Cruz East, right? And from there, like once I moved like away from that life, it was like when I went back to visit Shravan's house in Dharavi, it was like such a warm welcome back almost. It just felt like, oh fuck, dude, it was like a vibe I missed for a very long time. And of course, like now you think about it, okay, like living would be difficult, and I my entire set, like beginning of my show is about the Chawl life, but it's just like they find happiness in their own ways, and I think that's the intermingling of different ideas of thought also. You come together, you have that conversation, and it's nice.
Yeah, and I think that gaze is so different from, the 8 years that I worked in marketing और हम लोग जाते थे consumer research के लिए market visit पे और this is such a thakela concept, and many like folks in the discipline of academia etc. have spoken about this कि marketing में आप लोग जो consumer target करते हो उसका classification है SEC, socio-economic classification. Of course, no imagination in whoever theorized this. SEC A1 plus based on income and which pin code you live in. If I'm right, A1, B1, B2, B3 going down to C, D, E. तो आपका अगर प्रोडक्ट है जो सैशे है वो आप C, D, E को मार्केट कर रहे हो और आपका मीडिया प्लान उस पे बन रहा है और जो आप लग्जरी प्रोडक्ट बना रहे हो फियामा डीविल्स या जो भी वो ABC को जाएगा और उनके घरों में जाके आप रिसर्च करोगे और ये गेज इतनी आई डोंट थिंक खराब इज अ वेरी वैल्यू जजमेंटल वर्ड बट देयर इज सो मच पॉलिटिक्स इन द फैक्ट दैट you as an MBA along with your other MBA cohort and your boss are entering the house of people in CDE who a researcher has helped you find, and these people are posturing to give you good answers and stuff like that for that little gift that you'll get in the end. It is yet another kind of scam, but at a socio-political level I also just think it is so much of culture vulturing to benefit who? Some ITC uncle.
This keeps coming up in this season again and again. Because my wife said this once and it does not leave my head. She said, I said कि वो automation से क्या होएगा, नौकरी जाएगा बात कर रहे हम लोग. So she's like, why automate? I'm like, because we want to increase productivity. And she's like, फिर क्या? Like, what do you do with the extra table that you made? Like, who do you sell it to? There's nobody to buy it, Aakash. The jobs have all gone. Like, it's the same thing with Elon, right? Elon बोल रहा है मार्स जाएंगे. लोड़ा मेरे को टिकट थोड़ी मिलने वाला है मार्स जाने का. ये कमरे में किसी को औकात नहीं है मार्स जाने का, ठीक है? तुम्हारा भी मोस्ट लाइकली नहीं है अगर ये सुन रहे हो तो रहने दो ब्रो. वो टॉप 1 वो अपने दोस्तों के लिए कर रहा है ये सब. वो अपने लिए थोड़ी कर रहा है वो.
यार कुछ भी हो रहा है मतलब हाइपर कंज्यूमरिज्म में तो मेरे को तो लगता है कि हम लोग ऑफ कोर्स पोस्ट अपोकलिप्टिक स्टेट में रहते हैं. मेरा पार्टनर जो है वो ट्रिनिडाड से है और पहली बार इंडिया आया वो. And day before yesterday we were in the auto going from Ghar to Santa Cruz and he saw a Maserati and he's like, Maserati on these roads, what is going on in this person's head? I'm like, you really don't want me to explain because I also don't want to confront it.
मैं कल गाड़ी का रिव्यू देख रहा था एक और वो ओनर रिव्यू होता है ना, ओनर हैज ड्रिवन फॉर दिस थिंग एंड ही सेज चलो सब समझा लिया फिर चलो सर सबसे पहले तो देखो जो होस्ट है वो बोल रहा है सबसे पहले तो देखो सर हम गाड़ी खरीदते तो हम क्या देखते हैं दूसरों का इंप्रेशन. क्या how the fuck what that's
no we know we are echo chambering this is a
I'm agreeing to the fact that he just said it bluntly
and the other guy is like नहीं वो जो गाड़ी धोता है ना वो सुबह बैठ के 2 सेकंड तो गाड़ी को देखता है कि गाड़ी कितनी मस्त दिखती है. I'm like तू किसके लिए कर रहा है ये?
But where is this car from? Is it Bombay or Delhi?
Delhi.
Then they have a little bit of a better road to drive at least.
No, but I mean it's not even that expensive. मैं औकात समेत गाड़ी का रिव्यू देखता हूँ. मैं मर्सिडीज का नहीं, मैं मारुति का देखता रिव्यू. तो बट I mean it's a 22 लाख रुपए का गाड़ी अगर तू ये सोच के ले रहा है कि वो बाजू वाले शर्मा अंकल को कैसा I want to, you know what I mean?
But that's typically like a very North thing, no? Like it's
I
like
think it's a very India thing, dude. Like it's very us thing. Where like we learn this from our family. Right? Our family spends their entire life caring about what random people think.
Yeah.
Right. And then when you start doing it on social media, your parents are like, "Oh, you shouldn't do this. It's crazy." But like it's the same thing. It's just magnified through technology.
It's just what we choose to flaunt and what we don't want to flaunt. It's like ki, my car is looking nice, look at it, but my father has a mental illness. Let's hide that. You know, it's always been the case for the longest time.
Oh, 100%. And ye matlab you don't even have to go to the neighbor level to look at whose gaze or approval we are wanting. You know, I mean from personal experience, and I hate returning to it. But when my mother passed away a long time ago. But when she was diagnosed with cancer है ये लोगों को बताना नहीं है. जब तक हो सकेगा हम लोग छुपाने की कोशिश करेंगे.
But what's the shame in someone suffering? Like I think it opens up. Like for example, my mom recently found out like one of her friends passed away from cancer. And again, same thing. They were like, don't tell anybody. They just told us about the funeral after she died. And my mom felt such betrayal because she's like, I've known you for like 20 plus years. But like, did we do you something wrong or something? But no, they were just like secretive about the entire thing, right? And my mom was like, at least we could have said goodbye to them nicely. At least, like had like one little, like a chance to do that. But no.
No, confront our pain, please.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we like to do it in some weird fucking way. Like prayer meetings always fuck with me for that reason. Oh, whose benefit is a prayer meeting? Like, you know what I mean? The star is dead. Like there's nobody. What are we here? Just fucking and then they play the 3 sad songs and they fucking know. Huh? Like I've arranged so many prayer meetings in my life now that I know who to call. Like the vendors all call me Aakash bhai. They know me well now, and it's like it's such a formality for everybody knows this is a dance. Like nobody is emotionally in on this. You know what I mean? And the family is also like doing it purely for the motion of it because the motion has to be gone through. It's fucking stupid, dude.
As an idea of coming together and mourning the dead, like the way, Jewish folks do it, or they sit Shiva, or, Mexicans celebrate Day of the Dead. And I think that celebrating our dead and remembering and honoring them, if it is done in the right spirit, it would be really joyful for me, because one of my life's biggest gripes is this whole move on methodology. Like, ho gaya na, mar gaya person, 14 days, chalo, let's move on, which is important. Some people sort of, cope with their emotions by returning to normalcy like that. But मेरा पूरा motive है कि अगर किसी को grief करना है, grief का कोई linear shape नहीं है, and if they want to participate in something like that, let's do it with the spirit of that and bring the transactionality out of it.
I don't think the spirit, like this one Swamiji told me once, which I think is very apt today. He says there's form versus spirit. We are obsessed with form. We don't give a fuck about spirit.
Yes.
Like I remember like one of my grandparents passed away and we were doing the prayer meeting ka arrangements, and the argument for almost 45 minutes was about whether or not there should be chai at the event.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you just fucking missed the point, completely. Like it's the same when my wife was coming in that doli mein late na, supposed to be 4 brothers. She doesn't have 4 brothers. She has 1 brother. So then So then now the spirit behind the thing is the people who've carried you through life are the ones who are going to carry you to this next stage or whatever the fuck. So she's like, let me get my friends, right? Like all of her friends, like 3-4 male and female friends. They are the ones who've sort of been the sibling support that one experiences. You know what ended up happening? My friends ended up carrying her because there were no guys.
From her friends.
Huh.
Yeah.
उसके दोस्तों में कौन वो गोड़ू था गोड़ू तो शॉर्ट बंदा है एक बंदा था गोड़ू
talking about your wife
talking
about your mom for some reason
and बाकी my friends ended up like Chinmay and Anuj were there who came to the wedding from my side but बंदा है लंबा है तू कर ले so they would to go to such a great extent to destroy the spirit of the thing completely just to adhere to the form.
Yes. And I mean, I will even take it one step further and be like, marriage itself and so many traditions, of course, our like intellectual conversation around it has moved on and we think about partnership differently. But in all of those traditions, I cannot help but see the position of how the woman is in the whole proceeding, how a woman is, head is bent, etc. It's like लड़की बेच रहे हो यार, वो है आपका tradition. Starting से वही है, गाय दे रहे थे, बकरी दे रहे थे, गोल्ड दे रहे थे ना, वो अभी तक कहीं गया नहीं है सिर्फ उसका पैकेजिंग बदला है.
No, I don't even think that is the thing anymore. I think it's deteriorated much further of the weddings I've seen in the last 6 months. They are Instagram videos. That's what they are.
Yes,
their Instagram videos.
absolutely.
You are an
Yeah.
extra
Yeah.
just to be there and तुमको बस वीडियोग्राफर फोटोग्राफर का गांड देखना है पूरा शादी क्योंकि
Yes.
वही दिखने वाला है तुम्हें.
Yeah,
I want to watch the same amount of pomp for the breakup or divorce also because
तभी तो silent.
because it's been
डिवोर्स तो बात बताना ही नहीं है किसी को कि
हाँ.
डिवोर्स हो गया.
yeah
तो वही
even in
नहीं
the
ना.
comedy scene like everybody like when
वो
the
कोविड की तरह है नहीं
wedding
पता.
happened, everybody was like, yeah, wedding happened, everybody's like hashtag, Haggu Muttu, whatever, fucking they'll find a way to like, ki iski jaya or something, whatever.
Yes, hashtag.
Yeah. I want to break up hashtag.
Dude, abhi recently na, like
Jaya
this
gaya.
has happened so many times. Like all these actresses get married and their after movie comes out and then my friends are showing me their शादी का after movie saying मेरा copy किया and I'm like नहीं किसी ने किसी का copy नहीं किया. This is a copy without an original.
हाँ,
Okay.
आप सबने कैपिटलिज्म का कॉपी
हाँ,
किया है बहुत ही शानदार तरीके
Yeah.
में which I feel like there is this entire subset of shows and it is happening across cultures not just India जो Netflix and all their cousins are happily streaming Indian matchmaking and that other show whose name I forget where they just show you how pompous an Indian marriage can be.
हाँ.
इसके ऊपर 8 और 10
The
एपिसोड.
big fat Indian wedding or something.
Yes,
like that.
that's correct. And I'm like, this is what we are presenting, of course, to our upper class friends who are watching all of these and making numbers for the India audience, but of course positioning this whole thing for the white gaze and western gaze also. हम लोग ये दिखा रहे हैं, ये हमारा culture है, सुंदर सुंदर, and like just think about the average, and I hate that I don't have the number, but the average income of a person in a city like Bombay or any other city is not even like will not even match up to 1/4 of the cost of what
If
the
you
groom is wearing.
One hotel room, yeah.
ये है हमारा culture.
20,000 rupees a month puts you in the top 5% of income earners in the country.
Yeah, but
So-
what is going
What?
on culturally?
How?
It's like
How less are the other people earning?
Ravish has been screaming this for last 1 year. You didn't know this is a thing.
20,000, you're in the top 5.
Top 5 or top 10 some
Shit.
percent.
oh gosh,
Yeah.
yeah, but मतलब
I'm
हम
the
लोग
top
क्या
two.
what are we even giving our eyeballs to? ये rich people TV जो है, Crazy Rich Asians was a book, जो literature में आई, and then उसका movie बना, and उसके 700 spin-off.
Yeah.
Rich Asian people in New York doing this, rich Asian people in
Yeah.
Seattle doing this. Thus,
But it's this basic voyeurism, right? Like, I mean, this is something I've noticed across the board. Like, every brand, everybody, they want to very consciously keep you from talking about anything real. You know what I mean? And you get cut off, you get demonetized, your reach is cut off. The minute, like COVID, I still talk about the pandemic. Like, everyone pretends like the pandemic hasn't happened.
Yeah.
And every time I talk about it, I see the reel, I see the numbers go down on that fucking reel. I see what happens when you don't. Dude, I see those feminism वाला reel आता है जो तुम्हें पूरा feminism 30 सेकंड में दे देगा. पूरा चूतिया औरतें कि इतने साल से इस पे लिखी जा रही है. ये 30 सेकंड में दे रहा है आदमी एक तुमको.
और तीन वेब पेज में पूरा थियोरी.
और उसमें विमेन में 2 एस्ट्रिक्स आ जाता है, सेक्सुअलिटी में 3 एस्ट्रिक्स आ जाता है क्योंकि ये शब्द नहीं बोल सकते. बहनचोद, like I mean, do you realize they are curtailing free speech? Right? All of these platforms are curtailing free speech and we're all okay with it. Like that's community guideline. That's not curtailing free speech. मैं बेंचो नहीं बोल सकता YouTube वीडियो में, bro. पहला 15 सेकंड में बोला मेरे को काट देगा. क्यों? क्योंकि community को अच्छा नहीं लग रहा है. तेरे साथ भी यही हो रहा है, सबके साथ यही हो रहा है. I was talking to Ritushri only the other day about this, something about culture only, and I was like, if culture is what we do and what we say and how, like culture is what we do at births, deaths, weddings, right? Like that's like those 3 traditional things in your life. When a new person comes, an old person goes, and a new person comes, right? Shadi mein somebody new is coming into the family and families are joining, whatever the fuck you want to call it. If culture is what we do during these times, right? That's culture, right? So शादी में जब लोग नाचते हैं चूतिया की तरह, वो कल्चर है. वो कल्चर है. अभी तुम अपना नहीं है, तुम अपनाया नहीं उस कल्चर को, पर तुम जहाँ रहते हो वहाँ पे वही कल्चर है. अभी क्या करेगा?
You forgot the 4th kind, the bacteria. We'll take a short break and be back on Varta Lab after this. See you. Hi friends. Before you go to the ads, one quick announcement. We are now offering memberships.
Yeah. YouTube memberships on Varta Lab. Don't worry, we're not reducing episode frequency or anything. You still get the episode every week. We're just giving more stuff on the YouTube memberships.
Ad-free audio, live access to our shows,
Early episodes.
Telegram group that you will be a part of.
And we'll do weekly catch-ups there as well. You'll get clips and bits that don't go into the episode. And we'll do live Varta Lab shows starting with Mumbai and in the rest of the country and hopefully one day the world.
So now when you see the join button on the Varta Lab YouTube channel, you know what to do.
Yeah.
Press it.
Become a member now.
Hello. It's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. Listeners, presenting to you Club Varta Says, the premium tier offering for our podcast. Club members will get exclusive Cock and Bull episodes every Monday, extended and unfiltered versions of the guest episodes, access to the Club Saris Says Discord server, and audio offerings such as ad-free episodes and early access to guest episodes. Also, members get to decide the topics of the live episodes and get their name on the producer's slate at the end credits. On Cock and Bull, Cyrus and Abbas, that's me, are joined by Owen Roncon, Chief of Business Live Events at Book My Show. We discussed Italy banning the use of English language and the antics of an American couple on YouTube for getting viewership. On Pulyabazi, Khyati, Saurabh and Pranay discuss how with changing geopolitics and technology, many government ministries have to deal with increasing levels of complexity. And on the Filter Coffee podcast, Karthik Nagarajan speaks to Malika Ravikumar, an author and history buff. She talks about her love for history and how schools have made it all about dates and wars which students find boring. Once again, don't forget to visit our merch store on ivmpodcast.com. We have some exciting stuff for you. Follow us on social media. We are at IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram and LinkedIn. If you like our shows, please spread the word, tell your friends and don't forget to rate and review them wherever you're listening to them. You will also find our shows on youtube.com/IVM Podcasts. And finally, we would like to thank our sponsors this week, LIC of India, Yono SBI, Cash Free Payments and HDFC Mutual Fund. Thank you for making this possible.
So I was saying like now everybody's getting a gas pipeline, so it's a nice thing only.
Yeah.
Like basically, even Bhayandar mein ho raha hai sab.
Yeah.
So my entire back road of my building is now dug up, okay? And it's dug up like in a way where they're like doing sections and then closing it off and then doing sections. But then when BMC covers up everything, it's just like a little mountain. But मैं देखेंगे 5-6 महीने बाद.
I love that title though, when BMC covers up everything.
yeah, it's mostly about everything only. Like even dead cases in their fucking fumigated bullshit. Anyways, so this lady in the morning, okay, like I'd come back from Cyrus only from studio. I'm walking towards my building and this lady is like कि लोगों को प्रॉब्लम करते हो तुम लोग, पता नहीं मैं अलका को फोन लगाएगी. And I'm like, who the fuck is Alka? और हाथ में ऐसा she's walking with like her own kachada dabba and 1-2 jhadus, okay? So I'm like, this lady is on fire, okay? She wants to take the entire system down. But at this point, like she's angry that we're getting pipeline gas, which is just like going to be beneficial for us only down the line.
No, she's not angry about the pipeline. She's angry about the shoddy work.
The momentary inconvenience is what she's angry about.
Okay.
Let's just say that. Because like, of course, they're also doing their best. They're not like people who are like, मैं तुम्हारा area में तुम्हारा road fuck के जाएगा. They're just like general.
No, but they are like that. The contractors are like
Contractors like that, yeah.
Like their whole point is कि मैं रास्ता कचरा बनाएगा ताकि मेरे को फिर से बना. पर देखो अभी मुंबई कर लोगों को मैं बता दूं, इंडिया में पैन इंडिया बता दूं, अभी नेक्स्ट ईयर इलेक्शन है, टेंशन मत लो. जो भी अगल बगल में काम चालू है जो लग रहा है खत्म हो सकता है वो हो जाएगा. गारंटीड. दंगे भी ज्यादा होंगे ये साल, स्ट्रेस मत लो, ठीक है.
लेकिन अच्छे रास्ते पे दंगे कर पाएंगे ऐसा.
हाँ.
अच्छा रहेगा.
4 लेन में जो दंगे करने का मजा है ना.
हाँ. तो मतलब तुमको अगर बस चलाना रहेगा तो एटलीस्ट इट विल बी पार्क्ड नाइसली, यू नो. सो देयर विल बी पार्किंग स्पॉट्स विद बर्निंग बसेस.
बर्निंग स्पॉट अलग, पार्किंग स्पॉट अलग.
Yeah, I mean 4 साल के बाद आने I'm seeing this, but I mean, you know, the coastal highway, all of the new rises, they were always in the plans. But abhi now my taxi or my auto stops so much longer at signals, or it, you know, snuggles by those roads so slowly. I am so tired of seeing that scaffolding ka hashtag Mumbai is upgrading. It is the best joke whoever has made that scaffolding has played on us.
Mumbai's upgrading is the LimeWire download, okay, which they get 98% for 4 hours.
It is the torrent file that does not play.
But I also feel like, I mean, on some level it had to be done at some point. Nobody bothered doing it for all these years.
Yeah, it's a cold turkey mechanism with Bombay right now.
Yeah, like it really is though. And if you remember the time just before all of the construction started, it was equally bad. It wasn't getting any better. At least now with each and every one of these metro legs getting done, little bit less, that area is getting some relief. So I feel like, और अभी for example वो bridge बनाने का है, वो अंधेरी का bridge टूट गया है. 6 साल से उसे ठीक नहीं किया था यार, तो कभी तो करना पड़ेगा ना.
And that bridge was so funny because like, chunks of it are falling one by one. Okay, like, rickshaw would be going and there's like rickshaw is not there only because it's gone into manhole, a rickshaw-sized manhole. Okay, so like they were just like fixing patches from like ages, which means that when you're fixing one patch, the traffic coming from this side still has to go like this, right? So now there's entire bottleneck happening in Andheri because of that, and everybody hates each other, and all of Andheri is angry because of the one bridge.
See, roadworks और utilities 100% समझ में आता है. तुम लोग टाइम ले लो, कर दो, हो जाएगा, भरोसा भी है. What gets my goat is the high-rise constructions. The rate at which buildings have gone into redevelopment and new buildings that are coming up.
सबको एक साथ permission दे दिया.
पैंडेमिक के बाद almost 250 बिल्डिंग का परमिशन दे दिया.
हाँ, और मतलब जो भी घर में जाओ, and I'm sure you all are experiencing it too, is like हर 2-2 घंटे में झाड़ू किया, हर 2-2 घंटे में झाड़ू किया, वापस डस्ट आ रहा है, वापस डस्ट आ रहा है, वापस डस्ट आ रहा है. क्या करने का? विंडो बंद रखने का है. एयर नहीं चाहिए, खोलो, वापस. It's like this cycle.
एयर खोल के भी फायदा नहीं है ना. एयर प्यूरिफायर लगाना ही पड़ा मेरे को तो घूम फिर के. I used to wake up choking at night. I couldn't breathe. My nose used to get so blocked. I had to get an air purifier.
Yes.
It's ridiculous.
Yes.
And I had to get one of those fucking bigger ones, not even the regular one.
जो हॉस्पिटल में होता है, बड़ा वाला. Yes.
तो जो छोटा वाला था वो मैं जब लगा के सो रहा था तो इतना फर्क नहीं पड़ रहा था. That बड़ा वाला also runs for half an hour at red light and then it becomes clean धीरे धीरे करके. वो करना ही है अभी. But I also feel like that's one thing. The only thing I would say the government is getting right more than anything is the infrastructure shit. Like अभी मैं हिमाचल गया. मैं 2016 के बाद हिमाचल गया. ये टाइम मैं तीर्थन जा रहा था. मंडी से जाना पड़ता है. ठीक है, मंडी के पास 2016 was the first trip. उसके पहले 2000 I think 12 या 13 was my the trip before that. Okay, to Himachal. Those 2 trips nothing changed. This trip not much changed. But when I got past that Mandi point and I saw the fucking tunnel and the bridge, granted it is causing seismic activity and गाँव फट रहे and all of that is happening. But वो रास्ता नहीं बनाते तो फिर से 6 घंटा में अटक रहा था ना. So like like even places like Chandrapur and all, I would never have gone to perform. So many cities I could never reach. Only physically reaching was a problem. Now they are open because of the roads. So the roads I think are definitely on point. The problem is like even now today when I was going to Juhu, throughout the way there are cops on the way saying भगाओ भगाओ भगाओ, which means पीछे से VIP आ रहा है. मैं सीलिंग से निकल गया. सीलिंग के गेट के बाद they have stopped all the cars so that the मंत्री का गाड़ी can go. And ऐसा कच्चू नींबू vibes. वो गया, उसके बाद 3 मिनट ट्रैफिक रोका है ताकि उसको हेड स्टार्ट मिले. क्योंकि उसके रियर व्यू में भी कोई गरीब ना दिख जाए उसे भाई.
Exactly.
अरे एंटाइटलमेंट की तो ऑब्वियसली यू नो देयर आर डिग्रीज. कल सेम राइड में ऑटो में जब हमने वो माजराटी देखा तो ऑटो ने राइट टर्न लिया. वहाँ पे राइट टर्न था, उसने लिया. एक गाड़ी को पैरेलल पार्क करना था, उसको वो स्पॉट नहीं समझ में आया या गेट ब्लॉक हो रहा था, तो ही हैड सेकंड थॉट्स एंड ही वांटेड टू मूव अहेड. द ऑटो हैज ऑलरेडी स्पन 6 inches पास्ट हिम बट द गाय वांट्स टू घुसाओ हिज गाड़ी बिहाइंड द ऑटो. तो उसके रॉन्ग मूव पे ऑफ कोर्स अंकल जो बड़ी गाड़ी में बैठे हैं एसयूवी में, वो ऑटो ड्राइवर को गाली देना चालू. कैसे तूने मेरी गाड़ी को छुआ? मतलब मेरा राइट ऑफ वे है. वो ट्राई भी नहीं कर रहा बोलने की, अंकल की गालियाँ चालू. एंड इट्स लाइक बेचारे ने कुछ बोला भी नहीं आपको. इट्स नॉट, उसकी गलती होती भी तो भी वो नहीं बोलता. बट आपका यू नो बिटवीन द 2 rear view mirrors, बिटवीन द रेलिंग ऑफ द ऑटो एंड द rear view ऑफ द गाड़ी, किसके पास है प्रिविलेज गाली देने का और कौन सुन रहा है? दिस इज द डिफरेंस.
Yeah. So like I do enjoy this fully where like I become one with the auto camera. I'm on your side. If anybody fucks with us, we are going to fuck with them. Okay.
Well, it flips on you too though. You know what I mean?
100%.
It flips on you in numbers. Like जो वो गाड़ी वाला इसके ऊपर गाली दे सकता है, वो if as a passenger you go तो रिक्शा वाला तुम, like we heard in the last episode.
Yeah.
So this also it works both ways. Like if you're a passenger and you take up a fight, then 7 of them will come and kick your ass, dude. So सब लोग भड़ास आगे ही forward कर रहे हैं.
This is exactly it. It is, the problem is that it is not an arrow going up or down. It is a circle and it keeps storming.
Like I watched this video. I was sharing it with Anuj and Abhi also. Like it's a video of like this at Malad station where bunch of commuters who are trying to get in a train are being blocked. So there's always these door travelers. Okay.
अरे वो उसको उठा के उसी को end में ले जाते हैं ना वो वाला.
No, that's the other one. But that's
you seen that one? They use the guy like a motherfucking flap, dude.
Yeah.
They just push him up into the sky and he's held into the railing.
That's the one getting out. The people getting out.
Yeah,
right? So this is the one people try to get in at peak hour and they can't get in because these people are blocking the doors and they do it for their friends and all. So if their friends come, they move थोड़ा ऐसा आगे उसको घुसाएगा यहाँ पे. Then they fucking fucking butt fuck each other. There are fucking assholes. It's all like homoerotica is happening on Bombay footboards, okay? And so this video mein, the 4-5 people, chal bahar, and they pull him out, okay? And then they just forget the train's gone, everything's gone.
And they just beat the fuck out of him.
Usko behosh kar diya maar ke, okay, dude? And I'm like, it's like that Munna Bhai episode also, it reminds where Nawazuddin Siddiqui gets beaten up, right? It's like सब लोग अपने घर से frustration लेके आए, तू मिल गया इन लोग को आज और तेरे को अभी मारेंगे लोग. And those people are like a real epidemic also in Bombay because they generally block everybody's entrance and everything. कि तुम लोग एक side से entry मारो, and they make rules apparently. Like they are the surveyors of fucking trail.
And it's now what has happened is like, you know, there's no rule of law, na? So like it's like how do you get power? Originally it's by being on the right side of the law, but now it's like
by raging.
No, it's my associations and affiliations, right?
Yeah.
Like I've seen so many times where the Uber guy will have a flag hanging from the thing which is of the party in power, and then बहन चो जो करना है करो. दिलीप tells me this, उसका गाँव है, उसका गाँव झारखंड में, ठीक है? वो हमारे इधर ड्राइवर का काम करता है. अभी झारखंड में उसका जिधर गाँव बोलता है कि जब इलेक्शन का महीना रहता है ना, तो हम लोग को क्या बोलते हैं कि अपने को बाइक पे झंडा लगाने का है पार्टी का. अगर लगा दिया ना तो तुमको उस महीने पूरा पेट्रोल फ्री. Every petrol pump you go to, if they don't, you show them the flag, they'll give it to you for free. So that is the way it works. Right, I mean the authority comes from comes from cloud. Like when we said that medical system in India failed during COVID, what was the system? The system is bed nahi milta, politician ko phone karo. That was the system that failed.
Yeah.
Even that system failed.
Yeah, even that system. But that was there was no real system anyway, right?
Yes.
It was always sifarish based system. So obviously it was going to fail when it comes to such mass numbers.
Yeah, the entire thing was framed in one picture where like a man was begging to a politician to not take the cylinders away. Like at a hospital in UP, like this politician was like, I want it for my son. So they took cylinders from the hospital to their house so the son could have the oxygen.
Yes, yeah.
And this poor man is just like breaking down thinking my kid will die if you take it away. And it was just like, oh fuck dude, that's why we can't stop talking about it because of the same fucking reason. Like the whole diversion of that whole
all
time.
These stories and like it's like fucking partition all over again, dude. Like nobody wants to discuss it, nobody wants to explore it, nobody wants to get over it.
Yeah.
Even Beat, that movie came out, like the way they butchered the entire fucking thing, they couldn't mention anything. Beat, like you don't even know the movie came out, right? Rajkumar Rao and Bhumi Pednekar, I think, they were in a movie about the whole migrant crisis where like they were all locked down in their cities and they couldn't go back home, not knowing where the food will come from or money will come from. And based on that, so Rajkumar Rao plays a cop who's in the two sides of it, where like politicians and people are like his problem. So and then they butchered the movie before it went out for release because of certain affiliations and mentions.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
I remember reading about and obviously it got very little coverage in the grand scheme of all the losses that were happening. There were companies in the northern part of the country, I forget the city, but who were basically rebranding and repainting fire cylinders as oxygen canisters and selling them on the black market.
They were painting it black and putting out fuck.
Best.
Yeah.
So many people made money out of this.
अभी का बात करता है, ये एक हफ्ते पहले का बात है. There was a politician in UP, उसका गाड़ी पार्क किया था, उसकी गाड़ी के पीछे एक एम्बुलेंस अटक के वो पेशेंट मर गया. ठीक है. And this is not the first. This happened in Bombay near my house also. There is a certain religious structure of a minority religion and not the one you're thinking of. But basically उनका है ना वो साल में एक होता है एंड में सबको सॉरी बोलने का रहता है, तो वो करते हैं उसमें. बिकॉज ऑफ दैट पूजा आई हैव सीन एटलीस्ट ट्वाइस लाइक कार्डियक पेशेंट्स डाई ऑन द वे. ओके, एंड दे आर लाइक नहीं ये तो भगवान के पास जाएंगे सीधा. But I'll find you the story. So this is a true story in UP. And the guy, when he was confronted कि you fucking the patient is dead, he got out of the car and he started threatening the family member on camera, saying तेरे पे पुलिस केस करवा दूंगा, तू जानता नहीं मेरे को, और so on and so forth. ये रहा देख, car blocks ambulance, killing patient, he threatens family. It's a real thing. Like
I'll send you all to that. Like how about that? Nobody to complain only.
Yeah.
Simple solution. So that's when when the Last of Us show came out like recently, and like the game and the show are a little different. Have you?
I've seen all of it.
Yeah. So like in the game, there's a lot of more zombie play, and there's like a lot of at every turn there are like dead people. But I think the show makes a very clear point that humans are the fucking zombies. We are the epidemic, and even when we are like the last of us who are left, we'll still find a way to fuck over each other. That's how.
Yes.
It's the lesson that we have.
Yeah. I'm such a. I'm so taken by shows which, sort of segregate most of humanity into parallels in what is happening in real life, but we think about these groups as social experiments and how everyone turns towards the villainous, but it's just that the way you seek autonomy is different. तो कोई weaponry के साथ कर रहा है, one of the characters on that show, but कोई religion के through कर रहा है, कोई perversion के through कर रहा है. But what I appreciate so much, and without giving any spoilers away, is that तुम कभी भी बदल सकते हो. You might be the most heroic person, पर तुम्हारे अंदर भी वो है जो there is an individualistic survivalist instinct which is you're trying to keep love for yourself, and to what extent are you ready to go to have that love proximate to you.
100%.
Yeah.
But all the research they do on rich people, right? It's like the money beyond a point makes you crazy. Okay, after you make the first few hundred millions, तो करना क्या है? क्या नहीं affordable है $100 million के बाद ना?
Yeah, that's what the Succession, White
I was
Lotus,
just going to say.
they're all like a
But now here's another thing I feel. All of these shows, right? You watch White Lotus, you watch Succession, you're like, eat the rich, fuck the rich, right?
Yeah.
What? Yeah, कुछ हो नहीं
उसके
रहा है ना?
beyond क्या?
अब उसके beyond समझ रहे हो ना?
sartorial like look at
तुम्हें
it.
ये पकड़ा दिया, ये ले एक अमीर औरत को पिक्चर टीवी में मार दिया, वो खुश हो इससे.
These gays.
नहीं इसकी ऑब्सेशन सही है और होनी भी चाहिए. हाँ, these gays मार्जिन्स में, आप मार्जिन्स में ही रहिए सर. हाँ, और एक वाइट लड़का है जो इंडिजिनस लोगों के साथ बोर्ड पे जाएगा एंडिंग में, और उसको फिर स्टैनफोर्ड में एडमिशन मिलेगा. When he writes his admission essay, I went rafting in Hawaii with local folks.
And the Hawaiian guy gets arrested for stealing.
Absolutely. But the thing is with these shows, I think Mike White and all of his writers' room is very intelligent in telling us कि यहाँ पे खोखलापन है. There is a void, and we are trying to show you a very realist slice of life कि this is how a certain section of population that has money behaves. But let me also show you what happens to them when they face the human emotions that trouble us all. Example, grief. Example, mild inconveniences or like borderline not poverty, just
no
like
drugs.
rich becomes no drugs available, etc. And I am getting a little bit tired with the argument about देखो हम कितने खोखले हैं, देखो हम कितने emotion वाले भी हो सकते हैं. So there is a binary emotion that these shows are trying to like plug at you on off. In Succession, for example, the mastery of Succession, or the way people talk about it, is that it is the one show where every character is an asshole and yet you keep twinging for them, and
that's Archer.
Yeah.
Archer is way better at doing that.
because comedy is so much more prolific, right? There is no mask on your face. Here there are like hundreds of masks. The syntax that they use on a show like Succession is that the writers have a brief that you will never call an emotion what it is. You will say, is it happening? Is it happening? How many times does Shiv say, is it true? Where are we? They keep asking each other's questions, but we know what they are not saying. It's a show where you're supposed to pick up what is not being said. But I am feeling a little bit tired with that, only because it's so true to reality. We live in a world where Elon Musk exists and 1,700 of his brothers exists, and it's like, what is this? If this show
like
is...
his fan base is like, it's like dude, Bangalore में doing puja with Elon Musk. Do you know that? Like they're like Elon Dev and all that doing like
उनको लगता है उनको मिलने वाला टिकट.
MRA
नहीं मिलेगा. कनाडा गोथिल्ला.
तो I'm like, अगर आप ये शो
तुम पहले व्हाइटफील्ड पहुंच जाओ बराबर. मार्च बाद में पहुंचेंगे तुम लोग.
and I'm like, अगर हम लोग ये शो absurdism और शॉक के लिए बना रहे हैं, तो at least for me the message is very clear, but at an empathetic level I am feeling tired.
नहीं, पर ये लिबरल हिस्ट्री वाले लोग और लिबरल लोग में ये बहुत बड़ा प्रॉब्लम है. द स्टेटमेंट, वी डू नॉट लाइक देम बिकॉज वी डू नॉट अंडरस्टैंड देम. आई अंडरस्टैंड. That's why I don't like.
Maybe I do. Maybe I do not want to understand them anymore.
No, I mean it's like Slavoj Zizek, क्या नाम उसका?
Slavic Zizek.
जो भी अपना जो करता रहता है, जो philosopher. He's great. Slavoj says this, like, you think I don't understand Hitler? I understand Hitler. Okay, that's why I don't like the things he said were fucked up. That's why you don't like it sometimes. Like this, give them the benefit of the... नहीं देना है benefit of the doubt. वो गांडू है.
Oh my gosh, I hate to say it, but I know a person who still today, not in any kind of sarcasm or dark humor, believes that the entire thing with Hitler did not happen. He thinks
हाँ.
concentration camps are propaganda.
पर वही है ना अभी
And this is a person, we love people putting people in boxes. No surprises, this is a person with a master's degree.
हाँ.
Has, of course, the privileges of the world, worked in all parts of the world, etc. And concentration camps are a myth.
हाँ बाकी अरे मतलब अभी देखो अभी तो टेक्स्ट बुक से कितना कुछ निकला है अपने देश में. अभी 20 साल में देखो क्या होता है लोगों बच्चे लोग का.
हाँ, Taj Mahal is just a cloud formation.
No, it's a cloud kitchen now. Mumtaz rolls.
Veg biryani.
Whenever our light भी उड़ गया. Whenever Sparsh thinks we've gotten a clip or something, no, he does like a मिल गया चलो ये एक मिल गया.
अभी घर पे जाओ.
कितना टाइम हुआ अभी? 55
Thank you,
मिनट.
Naveen.
1 hour.
Thank you for giving us that kitchen.
Awesome.
But
Chalo,
hey
so-
man, it's nice to have you back in. It's nice to see you in the flesh, breathe the same air as you. It's been a while.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
Being
and
infected by
Yeah.
the same bacteria
Yeah.
as
Yes.
a lot of times, I know we didn't really talk about Preeti's life much, but a lot of times what happens is that like you like there's this anxiety of never seeing someone again.
yeah.
No, really.
In this case,
And-
it's us. Okay, you'll see yourself, but like we'll
Yeah.
be gone.
So it just feels nice to oh fuck like way back when in high when we're not in iBar days and
Do you remember comedy interns?
yeah, of course I remember comedy.
You were in comedy interns too.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, dude. I'm like, I'm like all the comics and now she's a poet.
Yeah. No, I am so full, so really full of gratitude because when you move away for such a long time, तुम्हें लगता है कि तुम ना यहाँ के रहे ना वहाँ के. But thank you for making me feel that I still have friends here.
सीन के तो हो तुम यार सीन
Yeah.
से थोड़ी सीन को तुम एस्केप नहीं कर सकते.
Oh, I feel so seen.
Nice. On that note, thanks a lot for tuning in. Varta Lab happens every week. Saturday is the main episode. Thursday is the members only episode release with uncut stuff. So if you want to listen to it, please subscribe and join in on the membership. I'm Naveen Narona.
I'm Aakash Mehta and this was Preeti.
Thank you so much for having me.
Bye bye.
Thank you for making it to the end of the video. I commend your attention span.
Which means you're an OG fan.
And if you're an OG fan, then we have something that you're going to absolutely love. Varta Lab is starting memberships.
We're going prime, baby.
No, don't worry, we're not going to reduce the number of episodes you get every week. You still get the same episode. But with memberships, you get it earlier. You get clips and bits you don't get in the episode. You might get to watch the episode being taped live, raw and uncut. And also come to live Varta Lab recordings in your city or, well, in our city. Wherever you are.
Yeah, so many benefits, only one podcast.
Varta Lab.